Hello, everybody. Welcome back to AIPCon. This is the 7th, yes, you heard that right, 7th edition of AIPCon. My name is Amit. I've been covering Palantir for the better part of 5 years now, and I'm honored to once again go backstage at AIPCon. Now, in the previous AIPCon, the theme was really about agents and automation, and this AIPCon is going to be more about connecting those concepts that have continued to gain momentum to a unified operating system for customers to get more value. And to help me do that, I've got AIP lead with me, Jack Dobson, and customer engagement lead with me, Nina Jacobson. Now, Jack, this is the 7th AIPCon. You've been a part of a couple of these. What has changed since last time?
Oh, it feels like more than a couple, put it that way. Amit, firstly, great to have you back. So excited to be back on Backstage Pass. What has changed? Honestly, there is a reason we have made it to 7. I can't say much about where we'll be going next. Like, we simply don't know yet, but every single time we run one of these, it's a new era. It is a new story, a new set of stories that our customers are telling, and that is really the reason we are back for the 7th edition. A reminder, all of AIPCon, like you will have seen the keynotes so far, there are more keynotes to come on the live stream, but throughout the entire afternoon that you guys don't see at home, all of the content is customer-led. Yep. All of this event is driven by customers, and the reason we put this event on is because those customers have new stories to tell. You mentioned agents and automation. Big part of this for me is really upping that ambition. People are talking about automating and building individual workflows. This time around, we're seeing people connect those workflows into a true, broader operating system for the enterprise. That is redefining decision-making at the organizational level. And I mean, I'm talking about customer stories, but Nina, you are the queen of customer stories. You know everything that's going on at AIPCon. Have you seen that same sort of era shift in our customers?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. So, just right off the bat, in terms of our second half of the day, our interactive programming, that is exclusive for our in-person attendees. We have the Demo Expo and the Champions Relay that I think are really pushing the limits in terms of, what we're doing next with our customers. So for example, our Demo Expo, I have never seen customers scale so fast in my entire time at Palantir. It's truly remarkable. And then also with the Champions Relay, something that is totally new to AIPCon, we're, of course before, we were very interested and invested in the transformation of organizations internally, but now we're seeing a transformation of the industries. So all of these organizations, within, manufacturing, supply chain, healthcare, working together. So it's really cool to see, not only do we see the value in the individual transformation, but also the ecosystem as a whole.
100%, and the amount of creativity that requires, owing to the theme, is off the charts, right?
I mean, we literally have an artist who is painting.
There is live art happening
right
on this stage and over there.
It is pretty incredible. So speaking of creativity, the previous themes we've seen at Palantir AIPCon's space, time.
Shoes. So you can't forget shoes.
We did have shoes.
Can't forget the Jordans.
This AIPCon is focusing on art, and Dr. Karp at AIPCon #2 said that LLMs, large language models, are like artist colonies. How does that relate to the theme of art at this AIPCon?
Yeah, it's a good callback. So Dr. Karp famously referred to LLMs as these great artists, and I think this was truly calling back to the idea that these LLMs are, by their very nature, they are generative. They are able to create this content, but I think, as we've seen very quickly, like the LLM on its own is not the end of the story. You need the platform, you need the framework around that logic engine, as it were, to truly drive value within the organization. So for us, what we've actually seen is a shift from the creativity at the model level to the creativity brought about by our customers, building with that logic, building with our platform, and I think increasingly as people tackle bigger, bolder use cases and build like bigger, faster solutions to those problems, the level of creativity that they are bringing to the table is incredible to see. So we always joke about Palantir being a bit of an artist colony, a bunch of crazy artists. Our customers, everyone you see behind us, are part of that community as well.
Absolutely.
And Nina, you've been working with a lot of those customers. Any sense of the art that they're creating in terms of applications on Palantir?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say, right off the bat, creativity can only go so far if you don't have execution. And so, we all have, developed this really strong, execution base. We've got operations nailed, and now it's time to really get into, what's next, what's scaling. So, I think it's really, really interesting, seeing the speed and then also the collaboration feed into that execution, and then we can further iterate more into this amazing operating system that we're now seeing, through AIPCon 7.
Awesome.
Yeah, and the art that we're seeing just in the room, and we have Palantir artists, we have Palantir photographers showing off their art, I think it speaks to the level of creativity that the employees, you guys, have at this company that make the company as unique as it is today.
100%, yeah. I think Palantir has always been a place where, from a tech standpoint, the software does not like constrain our customers. We don't force our customers to constrain to the software. It's the other way around, right? You wouldn't force Dali to paint like Monet, the same way you wouldn't force an organization to operate differently to its true core mission. So we're actually going to have a set of customers join us here on Backstage Pass. Those of you who know the story will know what to expect, but a whole set of new stories I'm super excited to see told.
Awesome.
All right, so let's get into some customers. First up, we have Amy Rotullo, who is the Chief Data and AI Officer at the Department of State. The department has been using Palantir to keep Americans safe in a variety of diverse and mission-critical situations, enabling some of the most impactful workflows. To hear more, let's take it to Nina and Amy.
Awesome, thanks Amit. Amy, thanks so much for joining us. We saw the Department of State represented through AIPCon today, first off with Alan's keynote. Amazing, amazing work. So, we're seeing full representation from Department of State today, starting with the keynote all the way through our last session today of Champions Relay. So excited to learn more about, our work together throughout the day.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's been great to be here. This is my first AIPCon. The energy is incredible, and I'm just really appreciative of being around people who are super excited to talk about the work they're doing and sharing their lessons learned. Yeah, so Alan's presentation was great. It's a great demonstration of how we're using the platform in some of our most important workflows across the department.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I know that he mentioned, Orion and how powerful that's been, and it got me thinking about, he talked a lot about the origin story of that workflow. And, in our discussions, prior to AIPCon, you talked a lot about how the actual users of your platform are actually driving the development of that. So we'd love to hear kind of more about how, that process works at the Department of State.
Yeah, sure. So at the department, our mission is to make America safer, stronger, and more prosperous. We have diplomats who are delivering on that mission every day. They're maintaining relationships that have been built over decades. They're doing that in over 190 countries. They're working on thousands of policies, and they're doing it in an increasingly complex global environment. So when we first started our journey with Palantir, we knew at the State Department that generative AI was going to be, could transform how the State Department worked. And so when we started this journey, we knew a couple of things. One is that we couldn't just build tech that was going to sit on shelves. Been there, done that, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing we knew is that we had to build tech that was engaging with our partners and diplomats across the globe. So we have been working with Palantir to start our journey of developing a generative AI chatbot that is called State Chat. It is in a secure, safe environment that allows our department employees across the globe to put in sensitive department-specific data. We built that based on an incredible amount of user feedback. So we had super users tell us how they're using it and what they want to see in it in the future. We did surveys across our entire user platform. And we just finished a feature ranking exercise where we asked users, we got responses from over 700 users of what they wanted to see next. So when we're working, when we started that development, we also went out to our missions and embassies across the globe and said, how do you want to use this technology? And they told us, we want to be able to transcribe meeting notes. Our diplomats are going to bilateral and multilateral meetings every day, almost every day.
Yeah.
They want to be able to transcribe their meeting notes and do it on the fly. So when we worked with Palantir to build our mobile development, we built it so that our diplomats can take a picture of their notes on their mobile phone.
Yeah.
They can then transcribe those, ask State Chat to summarize those notes, draft an email, and send it, all while they're in their car on the way back to the embassy.
That's
Truly
great.
incredible.
Yeah, we have over 40,000 users in the platform, and they're saving about 2 to 3 hours a week.
And the
is
fact
incredible.
that you're operating those complex environments, I imagine that speed, that time of then not only summarizing that information, but then contextualizing it, like connecting it to that broader ontology, enabling those chain decisions downstream, that must be changing the way you operate, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're really thinking about how to take this transformative technology and build it for our people. We're not out there building state-of-the-art AI. What we're building is AI that fits into our workflows
people
and
need.
fits into how our employees work on a daily basis.
That's amazing.
Incredible. There's
That's
almost
brilliant.
this sense of democratization within your organization in terms of the actual development of tech.
Yeah,
Very
it's great to
interesting.
see.
Awesome.
Incredible. Well, thank you, Amy, so much
Thanks
for joining
us.
Thank you for having me.
Love it. Thank you, Amy. Second up, we have Syed Zaidi, who is the Vice President of Digital Solutions at International. Now, they began using Palantir to build an application suite for Digital Dealer, which enables their dealers to generate and connect more leads for vehicle owners. To hear more about that, let's take it over to Jack and Syed.
Awesome, Syed. Thank you so much for joining us on Backstage Pass. To kick us off, tell us a bit more about your work at International and a bit about the partnership that you guys have built with Palantir.
Right. So we are a part of a trading group. We are building buses and trucks with the solutions to support our customers. There is a lot of transformation going on with electrification, autonomous, and then part of that is also building up an ecosystem that can support our customers in a good way.
Wow, that's incredible. So you mentioned there the ecosystem, we're talking about Digital Dealer, this application you're rolling out. Tell us more about that workflow, like the problem that it's solving, and I guess, why was this the moment to go solve that problem?
Yeah. So I'll give you a foundational level information. So if you talk about service department at the dealership, there's a lot going on. When a truck is broken down, we bring that to the site, and then diagnostic happens, technician needs to support, parts needs to be available. So there are many silos or pieces.
Many moving parts.
Parts. And what we are doing together with Palantir is to build up an orchestration and aggregating all of the information so that we can proactively connect with the customer, bringing them before something happens, and then schedule them so that it goes through in a smoother process, bringing efficiency for the customer, dealers, and also ourselves.
That's fascinating. We just heard, those of you who are watching on the stream, we just heard from Hertz Rental Cars.
Yes.
And it sounds kind of similar, right? Where it's like, if you can predict some of those movements, you can preempt the actions of your customers, the issues that need to be resolved, and essentially then that customer journey is as fluid, as seamless as possible, and ultimately it like improves the experience of your customers, right? So tell me a little bit about, I mean, I'm imagining like you've got dealerships all over the country, right? This is a massive scale of rollout, actually delivering these solutions. So tell me a bit more about the journey of like how you've actually gone about deploying this solution, and what about our partnership has enabled you to do that kind of rollout?
Absolutely. It's a lot about co-creation and really connecting to the real users. So we are still on the journey, so we started up with co-creating together with the dealers, with the real users. Palantir supported a lot really to connect how we can innovate and then also learn from every step. We started with 12 dealers with 32 rooftops, but as of today, we are planning to expand it further. And the beauty of it is that it's a continuous improvement process. We learn more, we expand. We have implemented some of the AI, Gen AI cases as well, and then it's an automation journey which we are all very excited about.
Cool, so 100%. And maybe to wrap us up, tell me a bit about, like, with all of that in mind, how is that changing the way you think about the next use case, the next challenge? Like, is this getting you to move faster? Does it allow you to go deeper? Like, how does that change the way you think about solving problems at International?
So two major part is bringing value to the customer, of course, by improving the experience, because that's the differentiating part we are really obsessed about. And that cannot happen without really understanding the pain points at the dealership. So co-innovative, co-creating, working together, so
that co-creation is key, right? Yes. Well, Syed, this is unbelievably exciting. Good luck with the rollout. It's still in progress, as you mentioned. Super excited to have you on the show, and enjoy the rest of AIPCon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Syed. Next up, we have Allison Jenkins, who is a Senior Technical Product Manager at GE Aerospace. Now, GE has been focused on accelerated production and supply chains while also navigating compliance and different government restrictions. To hear more about that, let's take it over to Nina and Allison.
Thanks, Amit. Awesome. Allison, thank you so much for joining us. It's awesome to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Nina.
Awesome. So, GE is an absolute titan of industry. For decades, you've been pushing the manufacturing and supply chain perimeters. 2 out of 3 military aircrafts are, coming from GE, and you guys were responsible for the first jet engine. Pretty incredible stuff. So similar to Palantir, you guys run a very lean operation. How has that impacted not only your work in supply chain, but also your partnership with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the main things about Palantir and GE Aerospace being a lean industry is that it's a good alignment when we actually get into an engagement with Palantir. So what it really means to me is that on a daily management standpoint, We all work together to win the day, to win the week, to win the month, and that's what our CEO has been asking for us to do, is to have a lean culture. And by having a quick, iterative way of operating at Palantir, it fits very well into the model of where we're trying to go to support our supply chain and improve day by day to address our biggest problems.
Absolutely. So in addition to running extremely lean, you guys also operate at an insane, just an insane metric. So when you create sort of operational changes, there's the potential to have this insane seismic shift. And sometimes that can be very disruptive. What's really exciting about our work together and our partnership is that we've addressed the speed and the agility at which you're able to then very quickly pivot. So with that in mind, what are you most excited to tackle next?
Yes, I think where we need to tackle next is how we're going to manage this internally, Palantir, away from the hobbits of Palantir, if you will, the developers, who are fantastic. Shout out to Christian and Dox and Kate. But we need to get to the point of having that internally, that power of the hobbits that are in our Palantir and Foundry space. And so we need to work on what is our strategy for our digital roadmap on how do we bring a single ontology, how do we bring a single data layer when we have disparate systems, and then how are we going to manage that from a digital aspect, the traditional product management versus the new age AI prep work that we need to do. And in order to do that, we have to be able to talk about, from a product management standpoint, what's the right way to address enterprise data management, what's the right way to address platform management, and everything that we need to do on the ground to make sure that it's sustainable for the growth that we're seeing coming in from engine orders.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome. And maybe to wrap us up, so you're talking there about the program management, which is of course critical. How do you think that's different on Palantir compared to, like, I imagine obviously GE Aerospace, all manner of software solutions and products out there, but program management of course still is of critical importance. How do you think about that differently when you're building with Palantir?
Yeah, I think part of what's a little different is when you have to have one Foundry ontology layer. When you come from a traditional product stack standpoint, you're thinking alignment directly to your business users for a specific product, rather than how does it work across the entire landscape. So it's forcing these internal conversations for us to be able to say, okay, how are we going to do that across all of our products, which now, Foundry, wherever that fits, versus just delivering for your one subsect of the business to address a specific problem. We need to do it across our supply chain, and that's a very difficult task, I think.
100%, but that's what comes with building a new operating system, right? As you redefine decision making, it's not an easy task, but it's a journey that we're super excited to be on with you.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you, Allison. Next up, we have Brent Troland, who is the Sector Vice President of Strategic Growth at Northrop Grumman. Now, Northrop has been using Palantir's Warp Speed platform to re-industrialize their own defense manufacturing efforts. And to hear a lot more about that, let's get to Jack and Brent.
Brent, thank you so much for joining us. Super excited to have you here on the show. I want to start with a little bit of a story, right? Your journey with Palantir. It starts in kind of a fun way, right? At a similar event to AIPCon that we're at right now.
Right.
Tell us more about how you came to be connected to Palantir.
Well, so actually, we had been working with Palantir for a couple of years on our mission side, working on the government side, doing distributed solutions for the warfighter. So we've been developing projects that we're working on together. And at one point, I was asked to go to the Palantir Pre by your commercial side.
Oh, yep.
I was already familiar with the government side. So I went up to New York City, December 23, and it was really interesting to me, all the applications from the different companies where they were using Palantir to improve their processes, their back-end processes. And someone on my team actually saw me on YouTube, and they texted me the next morning. They said, hey, I saw you on YouTube. We're really interested in improving our processes in manufacturing supply chain. And I said, I had the same impression walking through the Palantir Pre. So we got back and we figured out some projects that we could do. We worked with our counterparts at Palantir to find these projects and pilots, and we've been working on these for a year and a half now in terms of improving supply chain and production efficiencies for us.
That is awesome. You literally became the influencer that sort of influenced this whole thing, right? That's brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely mad. So, I mean, look, people know Northrop, right? I think you guys are the tip of the spear when it comes to empowering the warfighter, especially from a hardware standpoint, right? And then you've got Palantir on the software side of things, like equally mission driven, but focusing on sort of a different like part of that mission, right? So with you guys fully focused on hardware, us on software, tell me about that partnership. Like how do we come together and what's unique about the way we work?
We actually deliver full systems, right? So full system solutions, I've got decades doing that, air and space, undersea, things like the B-21, things like James Webb Space Telescope, things like radars that I work on. So I think the real mix with Palantir is we both really are focused on the mission, so that's a strength between us, and we both bring complementary efforts into the projects that we're working on. So very strong, there's a lot of technical respect I see between our SMEs, between the Northrop Grumman and the Palantir SMEs. They're working side by side to really solve the warfighter's most pressing problems and do that in a very, very fast with a sense of urgency. So there's very complementary and really appreciate Palantir's experience and what they bring in terms of urgency and software to our system.
100%, that's brilliant. And then maybe looking to the future, right, with that partnership in place and us both focused on that mission, how does that change the way you guys think about the next decision you make, the next workflow you invest in? Like, how does that change the way you solve problems?
Well, because what's happening is it's becoming much more complex and solutions need to be done much quicker. So how we're thinking about it is really proliferation of sensors and systems and proliferation of data sources, whether that be our missions or on the operational floor. And so how do we leverage that data, this complex data, and quickly see the patterns and get to the right decisions? And so whether that's for the warfighter or in our producing products, that's our partnership with Palantir, and that's where we see the future going. I think it's a very exciting time for me as an engineer.
Yeah.
And just the pace has picked up, and really enjoy the partnership.
That is absolutely awesome. Two titans of the industry coming together, right? It's incredible.
It's
brilliant. Well, Brent, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Excited to see you the rest of the day at AIPCon.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for the invitation.
All right, thank you, Brent. Next up, we have Joe Puchra, who is the development strategist at Cavanagh. Cavanagh is a construction company that's undergone a massive effort to build an operating system to connect the fabric of their business in construction on Palantir. To hear more, let's take it over to Jack and Joe.
Awesome. Joe, thank you so much for joining us. It's a great segue actually just hearing from Brent from Northrop. We talked a little bit about the journey of how he came to be working with Palantir, right?
Yep.
I just love the story of how Cavanagh came together with Palantir and like truly went about your sort of development journey in a very, very different way, right?
Yep.
A truly innovative way. So tell me a bit more about the journey of like some of the workflows you deployed and like that mindset that you've had in terms of approach.
Yeah, so our Palantir journey started like many others. With use cases, right? So tying together our legacy softwares, building things like cost reports, equipment utilization metrics, but we quickly realized that our manual processes and legacy data was actually holding us back.
Yeah.
So construction analogy, but we were trying to build on a bad foundation. So we actually took a step back and asked ourselves, what would it look like if we just built this thing right from the ground up, completely in Foundry? So long story short, that's exactly what we did. So this January, we partnered with Palantir for a 6-month intensive engagement to transform our construction division. And the momentum's been so strong, we actually just extended that engagement with FDEs another 6 months. So we're all in, so much so that every other software must justify its existence. And we've actually had some instances where we've replaced third-party software before we were able to even roll it out or make the first payment. We just built it in Foundry.
That's incredible. Actually, jumping off exactly that point, I'd love to hear one of those stories, right? In terms of these workflows, that point you said around every piece of software must justify its existence. I remember you told me a little bit about one of the workflows, I think it was some HR software that was being explored, right? And tell me the story of how you came to prove that, hey, maybe Palantir's up to the task here.
Yeah, it's really funny because a lot of the things we do, we treat as, a lot of the inputs we make are actually outputs. So when a lot of people will do an org chart or they will do accruals, but an org chart's actually an output of a properly organized employee database. And so we've been able to prove out that if you just manage all your employees holistically in Foundry, you can just output a beautiful org chart.
That's amazing.
And we've actually built a lot of workflows like truck dispatch, equipment dispatch, tool rentals and things like that. We're actually going so far as now as replacing traditional ERP functions like payroll, AP, AR, procurement, and we're actually managing the development and rollout of our tools in Foundry itself. So
that's it.
We're not just building tools for the office or for managers, we're actually focused on making the people on site's lives a lot easier too. So at the center of our operating system is actually a tool we're calling Site 360. So that's where field actions happen, that's the kinetic layer. That's going to allow field staff to do things like plan their activities, manage the crews, book trucks, order material, do their costing and approvals all in Foundry on site. And actually complementing Site 360, we've built another app we're really excited about. It's our forward-facing employee app, and it's powered by Foundry OSDK. So we're actually rolling it out to the App Store in the next couple of days for testing.
Wow.
But that's where employees are going to be able to do things like see their upcoming shifts, punch in, punch out, book time off, update their personal information.
Wow.
Right in Foundry from their phone. And the best part about building this way, the holistic ontology, the pure ontology, is that when you go all in, the information just flows. So in 12 months, we went from 1 user in Foundry to 100, and we're about to roll out to all 1,200 employees in the next couple of months with Cavanagh Connect. So we went from paper to Palantir in just over a year.
That's incredible. That is brilliant. I mean, that note you mentioned there of going all in, right? Like, a lot of companies, obviously, we work with, they talk about consolidation, they talk about harmonization. You guys just like, this is now the platform. This is the OS. This is the foundation on which you're building. And maybe just to wrap us up, like, looking to the future, how does that change the way, because I mean, you've really been focused on the decision maker, right? Like people that are literally handling the trucks and like on the construction site are being enabled to build in the platform. So how does that change the way you think about the next use case?
Yeah, we're really field focused. We're just trying to make everyone's lives easier. So the organization seeing the power of Foundry, the owners, Jeff and Lori Cavanagh, are 100% committed. We're not just streamlining our operations, like we feel like we truly are enabling them. And then by doing so, we're revolutionizing construction. We really mean that. Like by building holistically, we're actually fast tracking operational AI. We're actually already starting to see the intelligence layer, the automations take shape. So Palantir's not just making that possible. When you build this way, when you go all in, it's inevitable.
Beautiful. Well, Joe, thank you so much for sharing that story. I'm excited to keep track of you guys. You guys are absolutely going to the moon. This is brilliant. Thank you so much, Joe, for joining us.
Thanks,
Joe.
Joe, thank you. We still have a bunch of keynotes left at AIPCon. Jack, what can we expect?
Oh, what can we expect? It's already been a packed day. I don't know if you guys can hear on the stream some of the engine revs going on behind. I mentioned we had Hertz keynoting. They've got one of only 25 limited edition Shelbys out there, like ready, like people are exploring it, people are revving that engine. There is a lot more where that came from.
And you're a car guy, you like cars.
I am a car guy. It's like if I'm not racing, I'm here telling these stories, right? So, no, I mean, so far it's been brilliant. Obviously, if you missed it, rewind, watch some of those keynotes. But coming up, I think prevailing the theme that I want to land, and actually Joe put it perfectly with Cavanagh, it's not just a case of redefining the organization, it's not just one company. Each of our customers up on this stage are really thinking at the level of the industry. We've got City Wealth coming up. They are transforming wealth management. It's not just transforming City, it's transforming the entire industry. And Joe is going to come out pretty fighting in terms of this is powerful stuff. They are equally all in, as Joe from Cavanagh mentioned. I am super excited to see more of those stories where people are thinking not just at the scale of their company, but the industry as a whole.
No, absolutely. And I'll say, like, in terms of the, the afternoon sessions, the two big themes that I keep seeing is, this incredible driver as it pertains to time, and this go big plan. So in terms of time, we saw, with Alan on the Department of State's their keynote, paper to a completely digital EHR, 18 months. Absolutely incredible, unheard of.
No,
absolutely incredible. And then in terms of go bigger, I mean, we saw Hertz, just up on the stage, just a few moments ago, 560,000 cars in over 11,000 locations. Unbelievable.
All tracked in an ontology.
Insane. And then, to pivot back to Department of State, $100 million in cost savings.
Wow.
It's incredible.
Absolutely incredible.
I think the scale is mad, and we've talked a number of different themes over these events. Like we've gone from time and the speed, we've gone to space and really increasing the scale. I feel like this artist colony theme is really releasing all inhibitions, right? It's really allowing our customers to create at the pace and the drive and the sort of pure ambition that they hold, right? And it goes back to that same point of like customers increasingly coming to us are like, what about this? What about trying this? And literally pushing the perimeter of product, but that is about being aligned to the mission, right? It's like your product is already giving me that foundation. I want to go further, I want to go deeper, and that is that creativity that inhibits or basically allows for this artist community behind me.
So, I mean, Dr. Karp was speaking about this just recently about the idea that customers want to do more, and the reason they want to do more is because they see results. He says they have the burden of value creation. As an engineer in Palantir, what does it mean to actually create value for customers and only get paid if you actually create value?
True. I mean, if I only get paid if I create value, that's how it works. No, honestly, I think this is something that's very special about Palantir. It's the reason I've been here for effectively my whole career.
Yeah.
I like the fact that every team I work with, every problem I work on, you feel the ownership of the outcome. Like, My customers' wins are my wins. My customers' losses are my losses.
And that's not every software company.
No, 100%. And we talked about the forward deployed nature. We had a bit of that on the pre-show earlier. Again, rewind if you missed it. But these customers, they partner with us because they're not just getting software. They're getting a mindset shift, a change in an approach to problem solving, which means not only you have the best tech and the best people, I may be a little bit biased, but I think that's true, but importantly, those people will take your outcomes as their own. And that is a level of ownership, a level of accountability that enables incredible things. I mean, you've seen that with some of the sessions just at AIPCon, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think also something to really, underline here is, obviously we have so much stake in our customers' success. We are all extremely mission-driven organizations. We're very like-minded, but I think there's also this, really important factor of, we're not selling them this cookie-cutter, piece of software. It is complete, as similar to artists, we don't conform, and neither do our customers. And so, there's this, we're constantly evolving our technology to suit their needs because they are the experts. They are the ones on the ground, furthering the mission.
100%, and with that, I think we're going to watch some more artists take to the stage,
Can't
right?
wait. Can't wait.
We will see you guys next time on Palantir's AIPCon. Thank you everyone for joining. The energy here is electric. We'll see you guys on the
Stay
next one.
tuned, don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned.